I've completed putting all the runners inside the base itself. It's very simple. Let me show you in detail what's going on here. Well, the first thing I did was I took a strip of wood. I wanted to give myself an inch on either side of the 3/4 inch, and I glued and screwed that to the bottom of the center divider. Then I took another piece, again, to go in between the two legs. It's notched out here, and that acts as a support for the drawer itself. And I took another piece that fits in between the two legs that is flush with the inside of the legs here. And what that'll do is it'll act as the inside runner here. So I'm ready to start making the drawers. What I need to do first is figure out what I'm going to do with the drawer faces themselves. Well, this is the piece of lumber that I'm going to be using for the drawer faces. Now, I don't have a lot of figure on this, but I want to make the best use of it that I can. And I've decided to use pretty much this face right here, and that's going to give me the most grain that I can. I'm going to resaw this down to about 1/8 of an inch thick, and that's going to be laminated to a piece of 5/8 inch stock for my drawer faces, drawer fronts anyways. I did the same thing here that I did with the Hutch, and I've just moved this around. This represents what the size of the drawer is until I've maximized that grain, and I think the grain that I want in the front. And this is what I've decided right now, and I'm going to trace this out. I'm going to rough cut on the bandsaw. I'll go over the joiner and get one nice flat edge on this, resaw this, and I'll show you those pieces when I get done. Well, here's the two pieces. They're about 1/8 inch thick. That's my jointed edge down here at the bottom, and that's the orientation they go in. Now I can put them like this, where it radiates out from the center, or I can go like this, where there's more grain on the sides and it radiates out towards this way. Now, considering the way the Hutch is, where it radiates out from the center, myself, I'm more inclined to go like this. And those are the two faces that I'm going to use on the piece. Well, this is a jig that I've made up to glue the drawer front pieces, again, which are 1/8 inch thick, to the actual stock that's going to be the drawer fronts. It's very important that I keep the pattern consistent going from side to side, so I've got the faces down, and what I'm going to do is these are all cut to the same width, not to the proper length, but to the same width. I'll put some glue on there, put these in here like that, and then put the drawer faces against there like that, put this piece on, and then clamp the whole thing together and let it sit for 24 hours. And what that will do is I still need to cut the length, but it will ensure that the drawer faces, this 1/8 inch veneer, doesn't move around. I need to keep that consistent. So here we go. Well, here's the drawer fronts and the clamps. I'm going to go ahead and let this sit at least overnight, and then I'll start making the drawers. Now this piece of molding this is actually going to go underneath the Hutch and on top of the table. And this is basically the same profile, close to the same profile that I used for the top of the Hutch. I'll also be using that for the top of the base. Well, this is the frame I've been working on. The Hutch is going to go on top of this, and then this whole thing is going to go on top of the tabletop of the secretary. So these are just mired at 45 degrees, and I don't know any better way to hold these together than with dominoes. Well, here's the Hutch sitting on top of the frame that I made before, and I've got an 1/8 inch reveal all the way around. It's right where I want it to be, so I'm just going to take my marking knife. I'm just going to go behind it here. I'm going to make a couple marks, and that's where I need to cut off the back of these. Well, this is the top for the piece. I glued this up a couple weeks ago, actually. I'm getting ready to cut this to length. I've already cut it to a finished width of 20.5 inches, and now I'm going to cut it to a finished length of 37.5 inches. And I'm just use my track saw for this. I've got all the inlay done at the top of the base here, and I need to put the edge profile on here using that same large table edge forming bit that I have. That bit is way too big to be using in my handheld router, and I don't have a handheld router that's big enough, so I'm going to use my router table again. That's got a 3.5 horsepower motor in it, and that's going to be plenty big enough to spin that bit. The issue is this is a pretty big piece to be moving across the router table. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but I've got to be very careful while doing it. I've got all the edge forming done on this, and it came out very well. I'm very happy with it. What I was looking for is a perfect 3/8 of an inch from each side in the front, and this is going to go on the back. And if I go about 3/8 of an inch from each side, that pinstripe or the stringing on this is going to line up right in the center of that. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. Next thing I need to do is take the drawer faces out of the jig I made, and I need to make the drawers. I've taken the pieces out of the clamps, and this is what they look like. I need to clean up the edges just a little bit. I've done this one already. I'm just going to hit that with the plane and get rid of any unevenness. There's a little bit of glue right here. I just want to get rid of that. And then I'm going to take them over the table saw with a miter gauge, and I'm going to cut right to the end of where the front of this veneer is. So after a few minutes with the shooting board, this is the fit I'm looking for. I've got just about probably the 64th of an inch on the top and on the sides of this. And that to me is perfect for right now. I'll go ahead and do the other one, and I'm going to start making the drawers themselves. Well, here's the material for my drawer sides and back. I've got 3 boards here. They're roughly a 1/2 inch thick. And what I plan to do is get 2 sides out of each one of these boards, and then 2 backs. I may be able to get the backs out of one of the cutoffs from this, but we'll see how that goes. The first thing I need to do is I need to rip 2 strips, again, the width of these boards. Well, the interior of the cavity, depth-wise, is about 18 inches on the drawers. I'm not going to be cutting those till they go all the way up against the back. For right now, I'm going to make those about 17.5 inches deep, and I just need to cut 4 sides to that height. We need to cut the material for the back of the drawers. That needs to be actually 3 3/32 of an inch. I'm going to go ahead and glue these up now. I'm going to do this without the drawer bottoms made. Forgot to do that. I should have done that yesterday, but I can still do this without those because they'll come out nice and square. I just need to cut the bottoms once I glue those up. So let's get to it. This one came out pretty good. It was a little bit out of square. I just had to tweak it a little bit. It was about 1/8 of an inch off. I don't know why, but I got it back down. So I'm at 22 and 9/16 here, and 22 and 9/16 here. So that's good. I'm going to go ahead and glue the other one up. I've taken the drawers out of the clamps, and this is the first one I fitted, and it's a nice fit. Nice even gap along the top and along the sides. I'll work on the bottom in a little bit. Let me show you how I got to this point on the other one. After playing around with this for about 10 minutes or so, the biggest problem I had was the back was getting caught on the kicker. It took me a while to figure that out, but after I did figure it out, I just gave it about 5 or 6 passes over the back, and now it's perfect. I'm looking at the gap across the top and how that aligns with the other one, and it's pretty darn good. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but it's a nice even gap all the way across on both sides. I really like the way this flame is coming out from the center. I think that looks really cool. So the next thing I need to do on here, I know you're probably wondering why I didn't put the inlay in. I want to do that after I fit these drawers, because I want to have a very precise distance from the edge of the drawer to where the inlay is. So it's going to be a little bit difficult clamping these up and doing all that, but it should be worthwhile. Well, here's the drawers in their final resting place. The inlay's done, and I'm done with the inlay too. I'm sure everybody is tired of watching me do inlay work, and frankly, I'm getting a little tired of it myself. But it's done now. Next time I need to start doing a lot of the little detail work to get this piece ready to start doing the finishing before the assembly. Thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. It really helps me knowing that everybody out there really wants to see how this is going to come out. Thanks again.